agenda for the West Haymarket Joint Public Agency. My name is Chris Beitler, and with me today is Carl Eskridge from our City Council. Tim Clare, our region component, is under the weather today, so it's just going to be Carl making the motions and
Do that.
Chris seconding, and hopefully on some of them we'll both vote in the same direction. But with that, there is notice of the public meeting law posted in the back of the room. We operate under the open meetings law, of course. Public comment is allowed on most all of the agenda items, all of the action items, and we do have a time notification requirement. Not a requirement, but an agreement giving a total of 5 minutes to each individual who wishes to speak on each agenda item. So with that, all we'd ask of those who are testifying is that they identify themselves for the official record. Carl, do you have any comments you wanted to make to begin with?
No, let's do it.
All right. So we're down to, I believe, agenda item number 3, approval of the minutes from the JPA meeting held February 23rd, 2017.
So moved.
And I will second it. It's been moved and seconded, approval of the minutes as presented. Is there any further comment?
No.
Call the roll.
Beitler,
Yes.
Eskridge.
Yes.
It seems strange to speak up so quickly and say the motion is adopted, but indeed it is. Agenda item number 4, approval of the February 2017 payment register. Brandon, you're about to make your first presentation, I think, right? Second. Is this the second one? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. So you have before you the register for the operating expenditures for February. For the operating, there's a total of $452,018.98. And then on the capital side, there's $128,252.50. For the operating side, there's basically payments of $242,029.66 to the city of Lincoln for parking management. That's for December and January payments are both included with this register. The arena maintenance is part of the overall $300,000 is included of $15,209.63. And then there's a payment to District Energy of $187,373.90. A large portion of that bill will be paid back through private sector. For the capital budget, all expenses are primarily related to environmental cleanup and remediation. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Okay. Questions, Carl?
No questions.
All right, and I have none. Is there comment from the public?
Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs of Lincoln Government. I have a couple of questions here about the West Haymarket revenue. Is that from the occupation tax or parking or both?
Brandon, why don't you
something
come
else.
on up and take the second microphone and see if you can identify the items that Jane's concerned with?
I think you're looking at I'm assuming you're looking at the operating expenditure report.
Yep.
Which at the bottom says West Haymarket revenue.
Right.
That is the title of the fund. So it's the
Okay.
West Haymarket Revenue Fund. So that shows all the expenditures at the bottom of the fund.
Okay. All of these on the other page?
That is correct.
Okay. And the surplus is your income versus your expenditures, your surplus that you've gained.
So I'm trying to look at these in the report.
Page 2, in the middle.
Okay, so I think you're looking at the job cost report. Hey, Mark. I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right one.
I'm not sure what we're looking at.
Yeah, I think
Here.
she's looking on page 2 of the operating expenditure report. So that's not,
It's not even
that's
on.
just a subtotal, right?
Yeah, that's just a subtotal of the operating expenditures. There?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mark, could you introduce yourself, please?
Mark Lycum, City Finance. That total is just the total of our operating expenditures, other than debt service, which is categorized after that, and also our operating maintenance.
So you have a surplus?
That is the surplus, all the operating expenditures are coming from the surplus fund, yes.
Okay. And then what about thermal heating and cooling on the next page? Is that for the arena?
No, that's DEC. It's part of it's for the arena, part of it's for the private development down in
Okay,
Haymarket.
all DEC?
Yeah,
Okay. And rent of the city, county building space.
that's my office. My monthly office fee.
Is that monthly fee?
It's a monthly fee, yes.
Really?
Well, not that total is for year-to-date.
Okay. And other building maintenance, what is that? Is that up for the arena?
Some of that's the arena, some of it's the Amtrak station. There's some of each in there.
Okay. Have you done the job cost, or is that separate?
The
I mean,
job-
are we on operating expenditures
No,
or job?
we're on the payment register, we're not even on the
Okay,
on
all
the
of them?
expenditures.
All of
Yeah.
them? Okay. Going into the environmental, so this is all out of the environmental, the part on the Haymarket budget originally? All of that comes from that particular fund?
Which report are you looking at, Jane?
The job cost?
The environmental categories would be the ones that are in the budget, yes, for environmental.
All of that, okay. And what's the balance left on that?
$139,112.11.
Okay.
Five minutes.
So on the payment register, the arena repair and maintenance, what was that for?
Could you repeat,
Shows
please?
the detail.
15,000?
I can provide you, I don't have that with me right now. It's
You
just the
don't?
stuff we talked about last month,
Okay,
same sort of thing, maintenance contracts, just ongoing
Okay.
maintenance of the arena.
okay. And the, okay, I'll check with you about that by email.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Jane. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the payment register?
So
Agenda
moved.
item number 4. It's been moved. I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded. Further comments? Call the roll.
Beitler,
Yes,
Eskridge.
Yes.
it is adopted. Agenda item number 5 is the review of the expenditure report. Again, Brandon?
Members of the board, you have the February 2017 expenditure report. All the payments from the register are included within the expenditure report. Included in the reports are the operating in Phase 1 and Phase 2 capital expenditures. In addition, which is not included in the report, but occupation taxes are up year-to-date at 3.49%.
Any questions, Carl?
Just refresh my memory. What did we project the occupation taxes to?
We budget at a 2% rate, so we're currently above.
Almost
Yeah.
a point and a half above. Okay.
All right, is there public comment on the expenditure report, agenda item number 5? Seeing none, no action is necessary on this, so we'll move on to agenda item number 6, Resolution WH 17-6. And I think Frank's going to introduce us to this motion.
Good afternoon. Frank Ularek, Office on Sustainability and Compliance. This resolution is to approve a consulting agreement with Kennedy Jenks Consultants to collect additional site data at the Canopy Street remediation site used to make remedial adjustments to the cleanup operation that we have in place there. Little background, you go back to the 80s, 90s when we, of course, acquired the property in 2010 and initiated the cleanup. There's a plume that was about 6 or 7 acres in width across the area. Now we're down to one little pesky pocket of floating fuel on the groundwater outside Canopy Lofts. We've been pumping on that on a monthly basis for a year and a half or so now, I believe, and seeing some returns, and the levels are declining, but they'll ebb and flow with the groundwater levels. We just wanted to take a closer look at are there some cleaning up of the wells, some silting in that we can get them cleaned up, redone, and potentially make them more productive, modify the pumping scheme. We've been pumping them singly right now. We may manifold them all together and pump them all at once to get greater recovery. Anyhow, we just wanted to take a look at how we can expedite this cleanup and get out of the monitoring and push us towards closure a little quicker than the target we're on right now. So that's basically it. It's about a $7,000 agreement with Kennedy Jenks. They're one of the better petroleum remediation firms in the state, well-respected, and got a lot of success in remediation systems. We'd like to have them take a look at our operation and make enhancements as necessary.
Carl?
Yeah. Thank you. As I recall, at our last meeting, Frank, we received a letter from the state indicating that much of the area was no further action required on what was done.
Right.
Is that our goal here, to get to that same place with this?
Exactly. And we've got 2 programs, the voluntary cleanup program, which was the first letter we received a few months ago, that covers all things non-petroleum. And then there's a petroleum remediation program with DEQ, which is overseen by a different department with similar strategies, but they have a cleanup level that expects you to get to no free product. That's on a plume this size. Obviously, it's going to take some work. It has taken some work, but we're about there. DEQ has also adopted a policy that they will allow free product to remain in place at sites without removal if it doesn't present a risk to public health and environment. And we've stated that for a number of years now, but they've wanted us to make all appropriate attempts to recover what product is there. And this is, I think, our last strong effort at making a change in the operation, seeing what we can do.
Okay, and the approximate cost of the monitoring and pumping annually?
Right now, we're at about a $15,000 annual to monitor and pump it on a monthly basis. I don't see that this would add substantially. It would be a low-tech option, cleaning up the wells, modifying the pumping scheme, possibly putting some absorbents down in the wells to recover when we're not pumping. So it's a low-tech option that will, get us towards closure a little quicker.
Thank you.
And hopefully, of course, reduce that annual
Right.
cost to nothing if we can get closure sooner.
Okay.
Thank you, Frank. Is there public comment on agenda item number 6?
Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs. Whose idea was this?
This was mine. DEQ has not pressed for any further action, more aggressive action. Quite honestly, they'd be content if we monitored and pumped for decades, but we want to get this to closure quicker. And so it's strictly my decision to proceed with this contract and analyze what we can do.
Is this a large, since you've got 6 wells, is this a large plume or a small plume?
Oh, no, we're down to 3 wells. I think we're
You're down
actually
to
monitoring
3?
4, but only 3 that right outside the Jimmy John's, actually. Sorry for any patrons of Jimmy John's, but we got a little fuel up front. We're down to 3 wells in a very limited area. That obviously the most cost-effective, if you had that option, was to go in and over-excavate it, but now that we're all built out, that's not a good cost-effective option. So down to 3 wells, very limited, maybe a couple hundred square foot in total, compared again to the 6 or 7 acres we had a couple decades ago in that area.
According to the U.S. Geological Survey, small plumes are more difficult than large plumes to remediate. Also, you have metabolites, which are byproducts of the remediation, and that slows the process. So is this being considered, or is this new information, or what?
I guess I'd have to know more details of what
Okay.
what USGS report you're referring to, because
One I found online.
I'd be glad to look it over.
And there was a
address the
recent
comments.
research done by a woman named Barbara, I think Belkin was her last name, that came up with this. This was done just recently. So I could share that with you
Yep,
if
I'd be
you'd
glad
like
to look
to.
at that and comment on it in perspective to our plume and our issues, you bet.
They also say that once you get diesel in a groundwater, it's very difficult to get rid of it.
Well, we've through the last, between BNSF's efforts before we took title and our efforts, I think we've done a pretty good job of eliminating 99.9% of the mass out there. But USGS is probably correct in saying sometimes getting that last little increment might be difficult, but doesn't mean that a small plume necessarily is more difficult than a large plume.
Okay. Okay, I'll forward that to you.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Is there any other public comment on agenda item number 6? If not, is there a motion to approve the resolution, WH 17-6?
So moved.
It's been moved, and I will second it. Been moved and seconded. Further conversation, Carl?
No.
Call the roll, please.
Beitler,
Yes,
Eskridge.
Yes.
the resolution is adopted. Agenda item number 7, resolution WH 17-7. Rick, are you introducing us to this matter?
Rick Pales, City Law Department. This is a request from TDP Phase 1, who is the developer of the rail yard and the residential building across the street from that. TDP Phase 1 is trying to refinance their mortgage that they have with First National Bank of Omaha. The bank is looking for assurances that in the event that there would be a foreclosure, any future owner of the property to operate it as a residential would have the continuing rights that TDP Phase 1 has to lease 186 parking stalls for its tenants in the garage. TDP Phase 1 also leases a storage room over there. Again, it's for the benefit of their personal property of their tenants. And the bank is really just basically saying that those rights give value to their loan, and it helps ensure that they would have ability to resell the property in the event of foreclosure. I don't think that's anywhere deemed likely. Don't know. Senator Willis was temping attorney for TDP Phase 1, was hoping to be here this afternoon, but I don't see him. I would just say this is a fairly typical type of documentation the city gets a lot of times on its redevelopment agreements, where they want assignment of those rights to the bank.
Okay.
Rick, does this disadvantage the JPA in any way?
Not in any way. I think the agreement already runs to successors and signs, of the developer, and that's what they're doing, is just approving the assignment. But again,
This
they
is
have
just
to,
in the ordinary course of business?
ordinary course of business, whoever would operate or take over in the event that would happen still has to pay the monthly rents, obligations that the TDP Phase 1 has to pay. So JPA would continue to receive its income.
Okay, thank you. Is there public comment on item number 7?
Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs. Is this the Scott Brothers in Chieftain? Is that what TDP means?
I believe that to be true, yes.
Okay. And they don't, I don't understand how that has any effect on you, except that it's, that you're in alliance with them, or so to speak.
I think that's fair. I think it's just trying to regulate in a fair manner and in accordance with the original agreements, the changing of financing documents and/or other documents as the private side is doing business over time. Doesn't give them more rights or less rights. So it's neutral to us. Is that a fair statement, Rick? Yeah.
How much is the loan for?
I have no idea.
Okay, you've just agreed to approve it without knowing the particulars about it or anything? Like how much and what they owe and that kind of thing?
Rick, do you want to describe what information is relevant to this sort of approval?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the amount that they're going to borrowing is really relevant to this body. I'm sure it's several $1 million. That was initial financing for the improvements that they built. Those usually have a long-term 20, 30-year timeline to pay off, but I'm speculating as to the details. But again, JPA is involved because we own the garage and we lease it to TDP Phase 1. And they make monthly payments back to us for that rent and use of those spaces, and they pay market rates. All this agreement does is that if someone else would take over that business due to a default of the loan, that person would have the same rights to continue using the parking in the garage for the tenants, and they would again have to continue paying market rates. So. Again, there's no loss to the JPA. We're not at risk by agreeing to such an assignment. It's just pretty much standard operating procedures, I think.
Okay, so you're relying on First National Bank of Omaha to tell you whether they can make this loan?
They basically indicated that in order to make the loan, they wanted to be assured from us, the JPA, that these parking rights and storage rights in the garage would continue in the event of a foreclosure of the loan.
Okay. So that's all that JPA has agreed to do
Yes.
with this parking, okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Is there any further public comment on agenda item number 7? If not, is there a motion to approve WH 17-7?
So move.
It's been moved, and I would second that motion. Moved and seconded. Further comment, Carl?
Yeah, just, I remember when this space was built, it was obviously built as a residence, and it's hard to imagine it being used as anything other than that. And also recall that the attached garage was the first West Haymarket garage to be completed, I think. And the timing of it was really critically important, that it be completed before the residential building was completed, because those individuals who resided there needed a place to park and also store their stuff. So it's just a necessary accessory to the residential facility there, and makes sense.
Okay. If there's no further comment, is there a motion to approve WH 17-7?
I would move it.
And I would second it. It's moved and seconded. Further comment? Call the roll.
Beitler,
Yes,
Eskridge.
Yes.
it is adopted. Agenda item number 8, WH 17-8, a deductive change order to be explained by Adam.
Good afternoon. Adam Hobel-Heinrich with PC Sports. I bring forward a deductive change order for HIS Contracting. They are the group that did the Alter South remediation work for us over last year, and kind of wrapping it up this spring with some erosion control things we're doing with them. We spent some of the winter going over quantities and squaring them up and having the engineer check them and making sure that everything matched. But this is a quantity-based contract, and a lot of it is based on initial assessments, initial testing, and you don't really know what you get into until you start digging in the ground. So we had overruns in some areas and underruns in others, and overall the change order I bring forward is a net deduct of $181,000 and $206 and then 35 cents. So a pretty significant deduct to their contract. Their contract's still open. We got a couple little minor items to clean up as far as just making sure that the grass they planted grows, and then we can close out the contract.
Okay. Congratulations.
Good news.
Is there public comment on agenda item number 8?
Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs. Great.
Thank you.
That's what we like to hear, Jane.
Well, that's the whole purpose
Okay.
of my being here.
All right, so further public comment on agenda item number 8. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve WH 17-8?
So move.
And I would second that. It's been moved and seconded. Any further comment, Carl?
No.
Being none, call the roll.
Beitler,
Yes,
Eskridge.
Yes.
17-8 is adopted. Agenda item number 9, resolution 17-9. Again, Adam.
All right. The agenda item 9 is for an agreement with Olson's Associates. They were part of the original LHIT group, and they've had a lot to do in this area. And kind of the backstory on this design is, in the original agreement with BNSF Railroad for the purchase of the property, they actually had a parking lot on some of the land that was purchased by JPA, and part of that agreement was the JPA always had to provide 75 parking stalls while they continued to have offices in Lincoln Station. So with that in mind, we have since we worked through the core area project, and once they were moved out of their parking lot, they are currently parking in this area, which is where future development would be on Block 4. So the intent of this is to design an area for them to be permanently parked that would still allow for development in Block 4 and the liner building area. So it's a simple design. We've kind of had this in the back of our mind for several years. Haven't really had the need to move them because development hasn't been moving, but we're at the point now where we know kind of how things will lay out and where the permanent places for their parking will be. It'll be underneath the overpass, which we've completed the bird proofing, and we've also have that area full concrete. So most of this design is laying out traffic flows and parking striping, and it is a time and materials contract of a not to exceed of $10,000 or $10,250. And part of this drawing also has some things we'll talk about later for staging for upcoming district energy project and the liner building. So, but this is the area we'll be moving them to. It's just time to get a full design done.
Questions?
Yeah. Adam, so this area will be segregated for BNSF, gates or something set up so other people can't park in there? How does that work?
There's not really a requirement by the current agreement the JPA has with them to provide that.
Okay.
But the intent was to be a good neighbor, and if it's very minimal issues or anything for us to provide that to BNSF, that was kind of what, in the interest of the overall agreement, just to, because that's what they had originally, they kind of had it segregated. So we were working towards that goal, and earlier on, we were unable to meet those accommodations for sure without knowing what was going to happen in the area. But now we're pretty confident we can provide them a segregated area at very minimal cost to the JPA, and so that way both parties can be happy with the location that they're going to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there public comment on agenda item number 9? Thank you, Adam. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve WA 17-9?
So move.
And I would second that. It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion?
No.
Call the roll.
Beitler,
Yes,
Eskridge.
Yes.
the resolution is passed. And we'll move on actually to agenda item number 12, with the concurrence of Carl. The chair is exercising its prerogative to take 10 and 11 off the agenda, essentially for the purpose of better coordinating it with the redevelopment agreement, which has not yet gone forward. So that will be taken up undoubtedly the next time we're together.
Okay.
Tim, did you want to talk about that a little bit?
No, I was just going to introduce item number 12, Mayor.
Okay. Resolution 17-12. Go after it.
Tim C., City Law Department. I bring before you today a right of entry agreement related to the Lumberworks liner site. Put a map up here, the same one Adam was just showing you. This is to allow the developer of the Lumberworks liner building, which will be located here, to operate staging for their construction operations off of Block 4. They would start in this area, and then once the BNSF parking was moved over to its permanent location, the staging operations would move to the east to a second location. This is a right of entry agreement similar to what we've done in the past. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about it.
Okay, so this is entirely to facilitate construction in the area in a temporary.
That's all it is, Mayor. There's no conveyance of the land or anything like that involved.
Okay. Is there public comment on agenda item number 12? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
WH 1712, it's been moved. I would second that motion. is there further comment, Carl?
No.
Okay, call the roll.
Beitler,
Yes,
Eskridge.
Yes.
the resolution is approved. Agenda item number 13, resolution 17-13, again related to a right of entry agreement. But we're switching guys here, right?
Switching guys.
Okay,
Chris Connolly, City Law Department. This is a right of entry agreement also for a slightly different purpose. Mayor, as you indicated, we're going to withhold the JPA agreement with Lumberworks to better coordinate with the redevelopment agreement. But what we would like to do in the meantime is go ahead and get the right of entry to allow DEC the access it will need when that comes online to go ahead and do the construction work they need to do. And that is shown in this blue shaded area here. There's a vault right about there. And once the design work is done, the construction will take the mains over to a point somewhere in the west right of way of Canopy Street, and then eventually bore under Canopy Street and connect up to the building on the east side. And so we need to provide DEC with a right of entry to get in there. At a later point, once we have the exact route figured, we will be coming back to the board and asking for a permanent easement so that it will be over where the mains are constructed. And then that should take care of that. So we're just asking the board at this time to approve the right of entry.
okay. Any questions, Carl?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's the same thing as what we just voted on, except that had to do with construction of the liner building, and then this has to do with the DEC work.
Right, to provide the energy
Okay.
service to that building,
Yeah.
correct.
All right, is there public comment on 17-13?
Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs. So what is the Lumberworks liner building?
That's the building that's going to go in here.
But what kind of a building is it?
It's known as Lumberworks. It's going to be a mixed-use building. It's going to have the grocery store on the bottom floor, and it's going to have residential above it.
Okay. The new thing that Whitehead is?
Correct.
Okay. And so they're going to be online, or they're thinking about it, or?
When you say online, do you mean with DEC?
Yeah.
Yes, we don't have all the agreements formalized yet.
Okay.
But yes, that's the idea, is that they will take their energy service from DEC
Okay.
and the JPA.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any further public comment? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve 17-13?
So moved.
Been moved, and I would second that. It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Call the roll.
Beitler,
Yes.
Eskridge.
Yes.
17-13 is adopted. Agenda item number 14, without objection, the next meeting date will be April 27th, 2017 at 2:30 in the City County Building, City Chambers, first floor.
Okay.
It's okay with you?
That's good.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And second that. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Call the roll.
Beitler,
Yes,
Eskridge.
Yes.
we are adjourned. Thank you all.